Welcome back to the Same Room Only podcast, episode 121. We have a lot of basketball talk to recap. We have to talk about the Eastern and Western Conference semifinals. Mainly going to talk about the conference finals going on right now. Potentially could see a team make the finals tomorrow, the day that you'll be listening to this podcast. And we'll talk a little bit baseball, a little bit football, but this is going to be a basketball heavy episode. Follow our social media at SROnlyPod on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Follow our personal pages. Mine is at the Healy6.
And I am iGoose with 4 O's. As always, don't ask why. Hit that follow button. Healy, episode number 121. We are on the final stretch with the NBA playoffs. I believe that you want to start with the NBA. I say we start with the NBA.
Yeah, we'll start off
the
with
biggest topic. When we last left off the series, we had a couple close series. We had Milwaukee and Boston go to 7 games. We had Dallas and Phoenix go to 7 games. Boston ended up taking that series. That was a very fun series to watch. Phoenix and Dallas was a good battle too. Hats off to Luka. I know in the last episode, I definitely said Phoenix is finally for real after saying they really weren't for real the last couple of seasons. I thought experience was going to pay off. I thought Chris Paul was going to be able to control the game, but I am finding, like everybody else is finding, that Luka Magic controls the game better than anybody in the NBA. He plays at his own pace. He's not over exerting himself, he turns the ball over. Don't get me wrong. He turns the ball over some of the most in the league, but he also manages the ball the most. It was a great series. The team stepped up. Brunson did great. Dorian Finney-Smith looked incredible. Reggie Bullock, as they're calling him.
The biggest underdog on that rotation. He got inserted into the rotation in that series as well. He hasn't been talked about in a little bit. Frank Ntilikina or whatever, however you pronounce his name. He was on ball defending really well. He held, I think, Paul and Booker to like 3 of like 38 shooting.
Which is
something
nuts.
That ridiculous.
Yeah. And he got inserted pretty much late in the series. He was there for situations. And his defense, I know we talk about him. He's a first-round pick, 8th overall in the 2017 draft. The kid's born in 1998. He's only 24 years old. There's room to develop, especially on a team like Dallas where it's Luka, Brunson, who just stepped up, Dinwiddie, who is on and off, and then it's all role players. It's literally all role players. And I feel like this is a really good situation. He's been getting some play time a little bit with Golden State, not the last couple of games so much. But it was pretty cool to see him kind of step up, and we'll see if he ends up being a role player if he continues with Dallas. But man, wow, Dallas, I don't want to say they surprised me, but I didn't expect them to take this against Phoenix.
I expected how they're doing in the next series we're talking about. Like it would have ended up kind of like that, where Phoenix, we know they made the finals last year, and I thought they were even better than last year. Everyone was just way better. You know, Chris Paul, he's aging like fine wine, and I thought they were going to win in like 5 games, maybe 6. Took them all the way, and they ended up losing. Our playoff predictions, I had them winning. I had them actually pulling it through this year. Both of my teams are no longer in the playoffs.
Both of our predicted teams of the Bucks and Suns rematch are out of the playoffs. The Bucks were the other team. They had a 3-2 lead. And they ended up blowing that as well. They went home for Game 6. They lost it by 13 points, which I would say was kind of tough because Giannis, 44 points. Drew Holiday, 17 points. Bobby Portis, horrible game. The rest of the team, horrible game. Jason Tatum, 46. Jaylen Brown, 22. Marcus Smart with 21. Now that is a supporting cast. That's why they're playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. They have a huge lead right now against Miami in Game 3.
Game 4.
I'm sorry, Game 4. And right
Chris
now
Middleton being out it showed to be one of the key factors. Like Grayson Allen was hot in the Bulls series. He was terrible in the Celtics series. His plus minus was terrible, and missing out on Chris Middleton, his offense and defense definitely cost Milwaukee that series.
Boston is a more complete team than Chicago. I hate to say it, but with injuries and different rotations, the Bulls had no DNA. Levine was hurt, apparently still. DeRozan was doing bad. If DeRozan does bad, the team's going to do bad. That's why I say they're not a complete team like Boston, even though at one point they were. But Chris Middleton being out is huge. You're talking 40% three-point shooter, mid-range game. Defense is okay. I mean, it's Milwaukee. Their defense is pretty solid normally. But him being out's huge. It's huge. Grayson Allen didn't have the series. He had key moments. He had some good moments, but it was going to be a whole lot of Bobby Portis. If he had big games, then I say, yeah, the Bucks probably would have ended up managing to take the series, but they managed to keep their bench limited. And even Brook Lopez, who started off pretty hot, he did pretty well in our series with the Bulls. He also got limited quite a bit. So when it's only Giannis and Drew Holiday scoring, you got another thing coming.
Yeah, so ended up with Dallas and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, and then Boston and Miami, the 1 and 2 seed from the East. I think 3 and 6. 3 and 6, I believe, from the West,
so.
Or 5, because they beat the Suns. They had to either be 4 or 5.
Well, it's 4. Yeah, it's their 4th seed. Golden State's 3 seed.
Okay, so yeah, 3, 4. Golden State looking like the more complete team. Luka and the Mavericks, they're missing just a couple pieces. They went all out against Phoenix, but Golden State, we know how they play. They are back, and I think the Mavericks are trying to keep up with their three-point shooting, and you just can't. If you try to keep up with the three-point game with Golden State, you're going to lose every single time.
And the thing about Golden State is not even just their three-point shooting, but their inside scoring is through the roof right now. In Dallas, normally inside scoring is really good. Really good. You don't even see Jalen Brunson attempt too many threes. He likes to drive. He's got a nice little stocky build. He uses his body. You have Luka, who literally drives almost every time, still puts up like 10 threes a game. But you have a guy who they didn't really, it's their secret weapon, I'd say, and Kevon Looney, who really hasn't done anything all playoffs. Finally, they put him in the Dallas series, averaging almost 30 minutes a game. He scores 10, then 21, then 9. In that first game, he had 5 rebounds. Every game after that, the next 2 games, he had 12 boards. This is key. They know the situation. It's the situation. Who does Dallas have at center? They have Max Kleba. They have
Bertans.
Bertans, who don't even get me started with him. You have Powell, who they're only playing 8-10 minutes a game. So you don't have big guys in there. They're going to expose you. They're going to get to the paint. They're spreading the floor with the 3-point shots. I don't even want to say open just because Steph Curry, it doesn't matter if he's open or not. All he needs is a little bit of space. Klay Thompson's been pretty good. But to me, the MVP so far of this series has got to go between Steph or Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins defensively has been tough on Luka. He's been super tough. So tough to the point that in game 1, he left his mark on his face. Literally, that's how tough of defense he was playing. He's had a double-double already. He's averaging like 7 boards in the series. He's dishing them out. And he's only had 3 turnovers, and I know he doesn't handle the rock very often, and that's fine. Maybe that doesn't say a lot. But he also had arguably one of the greatest posters we have ever seen. Last night, he threw down the nastiest dunk I've seen in a while, in a long time, that got called an offensive foul. They reviewed it. It was challenged, and there was no call on the play. They reversed it, not even a defensive foul. Luka went up, tried his best to make it look like he drew contact. That might be the first ever mid-air flop that we have ever seen. So that needs to be an NFT right there. It's not the one for Andrew Wiggins' dunk, but one for the mid-air flop. That's going to be like a 101 collection. But Andrew Wiggins is an X factor. You know Klay Thompson could shoot. You know what you're going to get from Steph, Mr. Two-way player himself. All of a sudden wants to grab all these rebounds. But I think when Andrew Wiggins is on, the other guys just do enough. And Andrew Wiggins, he's incredible. And the funny thing is, in the playoffs, he's 4th in points per game. But I still think while he's hot, as long as he stays hot, Jordan Poole's kind of cooling off a little bit the last few games. There's no reason that Golden State doesn't win this next game and sweep the Mavericks. Mavericks aren't ready yet. Like you said, they're missing a piece. And to be honest, if they can get their hands on DeAndre Ayton, if they can get their hands on somehow a sign and trade,
Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert would be a good one. Actually, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of analysts, professional analysts are like, look, Rudy Gobert is not that good for X, Y, and Z. He will be great. That Dallas Mavericks team will be incredible simply because they have shit. They literally have a bag of shit at center. And I'm not saying Porzingis would have helped. He wouldn't have helped. He's just a big, tall shooter. Occasionally can grab boards. He should be averaging 15 a game. Rebounds. So once they get that piece in the paint, they can keep that team together for another couple of years. I don't know if Finney Smith just signed a contract. I like him a lot. But that's all they're missing. We're looking at a team that's being held together by Luka, Brunson, and occasionally Spencer Dinwiddie. That team should not be in the Western Conference Finals. They competed last year. They competed very well this year. With the right move, they can be right back to where they're at. Right back to where they're at next year.
And Luka's only getting older. I feel like in this series, though, Golden State has to win the next game and complete the sweep. Why? Because they've had injuries over the past few years. It would give them some rest between now and the NBA Finals. And like we've seen Klay Thompson in the past. He's come back recently. It'll just get them ready for another tough series that'll probably be played. Like, I think they get actual like couple day breaks in the NBA Finals. Like if it's a road game, it'll be 2 days in between instead of 1 day in between games.
Yeah. Yep.
And it would be great for them as well because we know the East is probably going to go 6 games, potentially 7, and they're just beating up on each other. They're both already injured in a way. And it would make it an easier road for Golden State. I understand the whole Boston or Miami will be more ready because they've played games more recently. Like Golden State could get like almost a week off. But I feel like Golden State's the type of team that's not going to let that get to them.
Yeah, Golden State, just inside and out. They'll be able to prep. To me, that's more practice. Miami or Boston is not like Golden State. The nice thing is, yeah, they played more recently and they're playing gritty. They're both playing a gritty team, no matter which way you look at it. Miami is very good defensively. Boston has been very good defensively. Both teams at any point offensively can get very hot and shoot with the best of them. But they're not facing a Golden State type team. Golden State will have time to prep. They'll have time to prep for it. And either way, Golden State versus Boston or Golden State versus Miami, I am excited. I'm excited. We're getting another good finals. I I'd say last year's finals was pretty good. Phoenix, Milwaukee, fan bases are finally starting to fill stadiums again after COVID. I think that this upcoming finals is going to blow that out of the water. And that's saying a lot because I feel like we've had nothing but blowouts in a lot of games in these last couple of series. It's like 20-point leads and
the conference finals especially. It's just been blowouts.
Dallas had a huge lead in their game 2 and blew it in the second half. So that was cool to see a team finally come back and win from being down 20 early. We'll see what Miami does. It's 31-14 start of the second quarter. That game started off horrible. It was
Miami in game 1, I believe, outscored the Celtics by 25 in quarter 3. So that was a good turnaround, but yeah, it ended up being kind of like a blowout.
Yep. Jimmy Butler actually took over that game. I think he had 17 in that quarter alone. Jimmy Butler.
He had 39 in total, and he made like 1 or 2 threes.
Jimmy's got to be the least talked about best player in the league. He's got to be. Like when he was with Chicago, we knew he was good. We knew he was great. Obviously, he gets traded. You look at Miami and you're like, they don't have superstars. But like Jimmy Butler is as good almost as any superstar in the league. For his position, his scoring ability, his defensive ability is better than most. And he's learning to become a facilitator. This is a guy who any given night can have a double-double with assists, 8 assists, 6 assists. I mean, that's a lot on top of scoring 20, 25 a game, sometimes 30, 40. Shout out to Butler. Definitely shout out to Butler. No Tyler Hero tonight. He's out. He's hurt. Groin injury. Victor Oladipo stepping in is having a monster game already.
Even though Harrow's out and they're down in this game, it's probably for the best. The 6th man of the year has not looked like himself in this series and has hurt Miami, I'd say.
Absolutely. He had one good game. Game 1, he had 18 points. He did okay. But now in this game, you're going to see Duncan Robinson get some playing time. Duncan Robinson, who they haven't, and this is the crazy part, is Duncan Robinson's going to have fresh legs going into the rest of this series, going into the finals. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, how do you pay Duncan Robinson? How do you have Duncan Robinson? He's not playing." If you can get through series without playing him and have fresh legs out of him late in the playoffs, that's going to be good. That means you have him coming off the bench. You have Oladipo. You have Tyler Hero, who he's going to still have his good games. I think Miami might be a deeper team than Boston, but it really depends on how they can manage Jason Tatum, who has been a stud. Jaylen Brown, who has been heating up in the last few games. He had a 40-point game in his last performance. Marcus Smart, who is injured right now. He's missed today. But he's had some big games. You get those guys alone, and then with the flurry of Robert Williams, who I like when he's healthy, dude is good on defense. You have Al Horford, pretty good on defense. You have those two guys, 2 7-footers basically in the paint. Makes it hard to score in the paint. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't care who wins. I think Miami is the more complete team. But either way, it's going to be a fun series. I'm excited for the finals for sure. I cannot say Golden State has it in the bag either. It's going to be a 6-game series.
Mm-hmm. What series would you want to see more though? Let's assume Golden State wins. Who would you want to see out of the East? Not for for your personal preference, I guess.
Personal preference.
Not for like a good series, but just like who would you rather see? Because we don't really have a horse in the race. We're watching.
Okay. So my preference, I do want a good series, so that is going to be a big factor. But I'm going to say, see, it's tough because I really want Jason Tatum to take that next level. But overall team, Miami. But to me, Miami is the better overall team. You have Bam Adebayo, who hasn't been playing too well in this Boston series, but guess what? When you go play Golden State, they're not going to have two 7-footers in the paint. Bam Adebayo had a huge game in his last game, so he's gonna get his buckets. He's gonna be the playmaking big 6'9" power forward / center, whatever you want to call him. Kyle Lowry, if he's healthy, can be a difference maker. Jimmy Butler, I think, can lock down whoever he's gonna guard. It doesn't matter. Now, this is the one thing where it's like, don't try to outshoot Golden State. They're still going to shoot 35% on a bad day, probably, right? But I think Jimmy Butler can slow down the game. The Miami Heat can slow down the game, and you're talking arguably best defense versus arguably best offense. And that's why I want it to be Golden State versus Miami. As much as I want to see a Celtics team in the finals, for one, we haven't seen it in quite a while. And two, I want to see Jason Tatum thrive in this league because he's actually fun to watch. And if it ends up being Boston, that's cool too. Any Boston fans out there, I have nothing against Boston. But Miami is going to be my pick that I would like to see against Golden State. That'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I do like the offense versus defense. For me, I'm going to go Celtics because of legacy reasons. This could be a memorable finals just because of it. You have Golden State. Who thought Golden State would make it back to the NBA Finals and be kind of dominant on their way to it? Steph Curry without Durant. You have Klay Thompson back. Draymond Green's still there. They still have kind of the group that they've had 4 years prior when they made like 5 NBA Finals in a row. And then I want the Celtics because, as you said, 24-year-old Jason Tatum. If he wins, that would just be a beautiful story. Him and Jaylen Brown, especially because in previous years, even we said it, we didn't think that duo was good. We didn't think that team was great. And they've been the key pieces ever since Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, they all dipped.
Marcus Smart too. You gotta
Marcus Smart
you gotta give
in
him
there.
some credit. He's been there for like 8 years now. We've said it. I don't know when we said it, but it's been the last couple of seasons where we're like, Boston just isn't the team. But watching them play, second half of the season through the playoffs, we know Jason Tatum can score. We know Jaylen Brown can score. But seeing how they're doing it and factoring in the other pieces, that I would not be mad. I would be very happy. I'm happy regardless with the potential matchups, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's a key piece, Healy.
And I've mentioned before how Miami, they're a very good team in my eyes, though. They just don't seem like a championship team because they don't have like that superstar. They play very fundamental, very gritty. I don't really have any attachment to their players. Jimmy Butler, he was cool. He was a Bulls guy, but Oladipo, Lowry, Bam, that whole group together, I just don't see them as a championship team in my eyes for whatever reason. So I'd like the Celtics with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown going up against Curry and that Golden State offense.
I think it's arguable that these are the two teams that deserve it out of the East, obviously because they made their way to this point. But with Middleton being hurt, the Bucks aren't really a complete team. Okay, let's get them out of there. The Bulls obviously didn't have it. Philadelphia, Joel Embiid. Did you want to see a ninja Joel Embiid make it to the next round? I didn't.
With the struggling James Harden?
Yeah, okay, let them go. And then there's some comments about James Harden too. Anyways, just out of the East, these two teams, I'm happy that it's these two teams. Definitely happy. You know what my favorite is? I've been seeing a video go viral on various social media sites with Steph Curry when he's like, y'all don't want to see us next year. And They, I mean,
It was when
this
the
team is
Grizzlies beat
scary.
them in the play-in.
The playing game, yeah. I mean, there was nothing they can do. I mean, they weren't just with Clay being gone. They just weren't they're a team, but it wasn't the chemistry wasn't there. And like you said, the fact that they're there right now, they don't have Kevin Durant anymore. He had a nice little stretch. Klay Thompson comes back. This is a beautiful return story. It's gonna be, they'll make movies about it. Maybe, maybe not. But everything that's factored in, Golden State versus one of the other two, I'm not missing a game. I haven't missed a game really in the playoffs, anyways. At least in the conference finals. But yeah, I'm excited. Definitely excited. So you got Celtics. I got Miami. We'll see what ends up happening there.
We should have a result by next week because they play every
Yeah,
other day.
it's every other day right now. Game 4 is tonight for Miami and Boston. So by next episode, we should have our finals matchup. We'll put a poll out on Twitter leading up to the episode, depending on it might be like a 24-hour poll. Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see what everybody says. We had a lot of votes on the last poll, so we'll definitely have to put another one out. But super excited so far. And do you have like an MVP pick for the playoffs so far?
Probably Tatum.
Jason Tatum. Yeah, I would say Jason Tatum. His takeover, that game was a game 6 where they went back and forth, him and Giannis, and they both dropped 40 plus. I was like, he's built. He's built for this. And I'm thinking about all the times, like we said, they're good, but I don't see this duo being good. I don't see them being taken superstars. No, they're there for sure. They're definitely there. So they're probably going to tie this series up as well. They got a 24-point lead, almost at half. We'll see. Never know.
One last NBA topic before we move on. I don't know if you saw LeVar Ball supposedly said Zach LaVine isn't coming back. Lonzo and him share agents. They share Rich Paul. And LeVar says he thinks LaVine will end up in LA. So
I did see that.
Every day that goes by, it's making it seem as if LaVine isn't coming back. And I'm kind of coming to terms with that. I do feel like this one trade will help out the Bulls, but it'll also like hurt them at the same time. I think if he was to go to a team and they do a sign-in trade, he would go to the 76ers. Because they could get Matisse Thybulle and a couple other, like a pick or so, a piece. But Thybulle would be nice on the Bulls. It would just hurt them because then it would be Harden, LaVine, and Embiid in the East.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that too. If they can somehow do a sign and trade for Anthony Davis, I would be ecstatic. At least we get another scorer. I don't need him to play 100% of the games. Give me half of the regular season, if that. Give me a full postseason. It's asking a lot for Anthony Davis. I wouldn't be happy with Matisse Thybulle, who's good on defense, but like then we have Alex Caruso already. It's like, how many defensive guys do we need? I don't know. Maybe it would be nice. We have a team that can score. Obviously, we can put up 100 points on anybody, but it was a little tough against Milwaukee. So I think getting a big guy is going to be the key factor. And I never would have been okay with a sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton, who may be on his way out to Phoenix. We don't know, out of Phoenix. But if we can do a sign and trade,
if they could get rid of Vooch.
Yeah, convince LaVine. Hey, man, I know you're thinking about I know you want to go to LA. I know you want to do the Hollywood gig, play with LeBron, almost guarantee you a title. We're going to give you a better center. We're going to give you a true center. You guys are going to spread the court with you, DeMar, Kobe, whoever else. So you got to think. There's going to be other free agents to sign, too. I mean, if they do the Supermax, it's going to be tough to bring in free agents. They're going to have to want to take a little pay cut. Bulls are going to have to dip into the luxury tax a little bit, which is being increased. But I'm okay if they trade LaVine as long as they get something in return. Like, that doesn't remove us as playoff contenders. As long as we can still contend,
Yeah. Yeah, nothing like a when we got DeMar DeRozan, we traded like a pick and like Al Farouk Amino and Thaddeus Young.
Right,
Like not
exactly.
that, not a filler.
Yeah, you can't have a filler. This is a team that's ready to go. They have playoff experience. Caruso's been in the finals. Granted, it was Mickey Mouse Club, whatever. But you got Io, who's still developing, is great. Second team all rookie. Shout out to him. Kobe White, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they bundle him. I don't know. But I do have a feeling, though, something big's going to happen for us back to back years in the offseason. And we will know in approximately 1.5 months. I think it's like July 1st, right? We usually know about because the draft's at the end of June. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Bulls fans just know with the current team, we really are not contenders. We are contenders past the second round, and that's the only time we would be contenders is if we were 100% healthy. You got to factor in Lonzo. Major setback still. They don't know what's going on with his leg. We don't know what's going on with his leg, his knee. Assuming he comes back healthy, sure. If you could bring back Zach LaVine, keep the band together, sure. I just am not sold with Vooch as our guy in the paint.
They just need a retool. They need a little more defense. They
tweak.
need some big men.
Just a tweak. Give us Gobert. Give us DeAndre Ayton.
A power forward that's actually a power forward. This team isn't so great with the small ball lineup. We've seen that. They're too much of a defensive liability.
Hey, if we can somehow do a sign and trade and get Ayton and Cam Johnson, I'll be cool with that. It's not realistic, but
Michael
I like it.
Bridges, or is it Miles? Miles Bridges might be a free agent.
Oh, unrestricted?
I will let you know in just a second. He is a
Miles
restricted
Bridges.
free agent.
They got to sign him. Dude had a hell of a year. In games when they needed him to step up the most, he had big games. I like Miles Bridges. Don't get me wrong. Michael Bridges is good. Cal Bridges is good. Miles Bridges, though, for a while was grabbing 8-9 boards a game, playing hard, scoring 20 a game, throws down nasty dunks. Not that it wins games, but it's nice to have a little bit of pizzazz. I like Miles Bridges, but I think they're gonna keep him.
Yeah, I think they need to. He's he's only 6'6". So never mind. I want to, if he's going to play the power forward position.
No, he'd have to play the 3.
That would
Anything,
mean
I think
Levine's
DeMar.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. Unless they go Levine, Bridges, DeMar.
I don't like that.
No, DeMar at the 4 is weird. I know the Spurs were doing it for a while. We actually did it for a little bit, but I don't know. I
I feel
think
like
we
they
need
had
to
a bigger
put them
lineup
together.
and a better system.
They just need a traditional lineup. I know some teams get away with it, but if you can have whoever's running the point, I guess Lonzo, assuming he's healthy, Levine at the 2, or a shooting guard at the shooting guard, keep DeMar at the 3. You have Pat Williams, who actually is not a bad defender at the 4, and then our center. Obviously we can't have big expectations for them to just all of a sudden go out back-to-back years and revamp the team again. Obviously you want to still keep some guys around because that's where chemistry gets built. That's how you build that kind of like that camaraderie. So it just depends who that piece is. It's either Zach or it's going to be Vooch. If it's anybody else, including one of those two, I'd be shocked. But one of the two, my expectation is gone. And if it's Levine, it's Levine. I mean, let's face it, we haven't won. So do I think he can help us win? Absolutely. Yes. But we haven't won yet. So I don't. I lost Derrick Rose. I can deal with heartbreak of Zach LaVine.
I never got any attachment to Levine. He never was like one of my favorite players on the team.
He's had great games. I'm telling you, the one game that did it for me, I was out at a bar/restaurant, and I was sitting there watching the game against Charlotte when he had the crazy comeback and he had the game winner. He scored I don't know how many points in the last minute, and I went bananas. I was like, "Holy shit, our team sucks!" But if we keep him, this is gonna be good. Then 2 more seasons go by, and I'm like, well, okay.
He hasn't hit that level that he's supposed to be at.
He
Especially
will.
after he went to the Olympics and it was like, oh, he worked with Durant and he's becoming a two-way player. And
His defense, I would say his defense improved a little bit. His defense improved. He is, if he goes to the Lakers, to me, the Lakers should be a favorite. But then you're like, oh, he's a scorer. Malik Monk was putting up 20 points a game. Like, is it really, there's so many factors that you can look at. So I don't know. It's to me, shooting guards that help you win a finals. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of shooting guards out there. So.
And off the episode, we're going to talk a little baseball news. Aaron Judge, I think, has 17 home runs. He's hit like 11 in May, maybe even 12. I don't know.
That's crazy.
He's just killing it and proving why he needs to be paid. He's insane. The biggest problem of why he's probably not getting paid is because of his age. He's about to be 30 years old. Bryce Harper is younger than him. Manny Machado, younger than him.
Yeah, but he can work out a small year deal. He doesn't have to do a long-term contract.
He wants one, though. He declined a 7-year, like $230 million deal.
He's nuts. But
or maybe he wants 7 years, but it's like close to like 260.
It might be worth it, though. I mean, you see some ridiculous contracts out there.
As a Yankees player, Aaron Judge might be like the face of baseball. His jersey's always the top of the board. He's a New York guy. And like by being with the Yankees, plays for like the most expensive franchise ever. You're going to be paying for what he brings you, which is way more than what you're actually going to pay him.
And he hasn't, I don't think he's ever really had a bad season. There isn't really a bad season.
No.
Doesn't he have an arm? Doesn't he have like a crazy gun?
He's one of the best fielders in baseball, being 6'7" too. 6'8".
Yeah, I remember I could have sworn I saw they clocked his speed from on a throw to home, and it was like it was nuts. 100 and something. And his height is nice. You have a guy in the outfield that tall. Yeah, Aaron Judge is, I'm not going to say he's better than Mike Trout, but this year so far, if he hits 60, that'll be nice. Stanton's pretty good this year, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Yankees are looking to become the first team in baseball to hit 30 wins. We're in May. They'd be 30-12. They've lost their last 2 games. They lost yesterday, both games to the White Sox. They're currently losing right now to the Orioles, so maybe they don't hit 30 today. But yeah, 29 wins. The next closest is 28 with the Mets. Both New York teams killing it. Like seeing that. Max Scherzer, he's going to be out a little bit with a groin injury. So now Scherzer and DeGrom both out. But the Mets, they're 28-15. Max Scherzer hasn't played every game. He's a pitcher. So they have a good team going right now. You just got to make sure your guys are good by the end of the season for the playoff run.
That's what it's going to come down to. Mets have been pretty good. Last 10 games, they've been a little shaky, but yeah, first to 30, it was either them or the Mets. Yankees or the Mets. Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Subway Series eventually, and that'll be fun. Boston,
yeah,
not
Boston's
as hot as we thought. Yeah.
They've won 5 in a row though, so they're coming back a little bit. They'll probably be in the hunt with Toronto and Tampa Bay. The Yankees are just 5 games above Tampa at the moment. And then in football news, Jadeveon Clowney signed back with the Browns. Pretty big signing for them, a 1-year deal. I think I saw Adam Schefter say he declined like multi-year deals that were like $14 million a year. But maybe those
Interesting.
were kind of like fake contracts. The NFL's so weird with their contracts. Maybe it was like 4-year, like $56 million, or what would that average out to? Yeah, 56. But years 2, 3, and 4, he could be cut for nothing.
Possible. But he does the 1-year deal, which is not bad. He's rejoining I'd say a pretty good defensive unit. It's him on one side, Myles Garrett on the other. Still a very scary game for a lot of quarterbacks on the opposing side. And Jadeveon Clowney, who is 29, about 29 years old. He's got a few years left in him, I'd say. Surprised he wouldn't take a multi-year deal. I feel like going at that age in the NFL, might want to just do the 3-4 year deal and see where your body's at that point, get the money, but we'll see what ends up happening. It's a huge signing. It's definitely a huge signing because there's a lot of teams that would love to have a Jadeveon Clowney type player or him.
That's pretty much going to do it, though, for this episode of the Stay Room Only podcast. Next week, we'll talk about NBA Finals.
Yes.
Predictions with that, recaps of the Eastern Western Conference Finals. As always, you can follow us on social media at SR Only Pod. For all our personal pages, mine is at the Healy6.
I am iGoose with 4 O's. Hit the follow button and just stay interactive. We're going to put some polls out upcoming here in the next few days for the finals as well, so be on the lookout for that.